So finally, it's happened. I have upgraded my car and I have gotten the biggest and baddest that Holden has ever produced. In their final run of Australian-made Commodores, they brought out the VF Series 2 from late 2015 all the way through to 2017. And it was arguably the best ever Commodore that Holden has made. It had the most power, it had the best handling, the most luxurious. It just had everything imaginable for Australian buyers, and it's a very sad time right now because Holden has just announced that they are retiring here in Australia and they will no longer be selling cars to us. It is a huge shame, but at the same time we all saw this coming. Holden pretty much died as soon as the Commodore did back in 2017, and they haven't been able to recover since. So it is a sad moment, but hopefully now we'll get the Camaro and the Corvette coming, as Chevrolet is expected to come and take over Holden's duties here. So we'll see how that goes. Let's start with the biggest difference in the VF Series 2 line of cars. Now, every single V8 has been upgraded in the line to this brand new for the Commodore line 6.2 litre LS3 V8 that was previously only reserved for HSV cars. And finally it has been released onto a Commodore, and I gotta say, it feels like it's at home. This engine was always meant to be on this car, and with the VF Series 2 they really didn't hold any punches. Holden went all out and they gave this car its all. In this particular setup, this engine makes 304 kilowatts of power and 570 newton meters of torque. However, it can make upwards of 400 kilowatts at the engine with just a simple exhaust and a tune. People in America are loving this engine, which it's a previous Corvette engine, so everyone already knew how great it was. But people are loving how easy it is to get power out of this car without doing a whole lot. Now, also new with the Series 2, with the VF Series 2 VA model specifically, is a new bimodal exhaust system. Now, this car doesn't have it anymore because the previous owner had upgraded the exhaust, and I put that in quotation marks because I will explain that to you later on, what my opinion is. But it was new for the VF Commodore because it was only previously reserved for HSVs, again like the LS3 was. So the bimodal exhaust has valves in, I think it's just past the mufflers, and it closes when you're at low RPMs and just cruising around town and on the highway and so forth. But when you're ready to give it spirited driving, they open up and the exhaust sounds incredible. Holden in the past was focusing, more specifically with the VE, was focusing on making the Commodore a quieter and more premium ride, which didn't really appeal too well with Aussie customers because this is supposed to be a muscle car. We really appreciate the more improved interior to make the inside more luxurious, but when it came to the V8 models and the performance and everything, we wanted power, we wanted sound, we wanted it all, and Holden realized that with their last ever model, and they didn't hold back. They gave us everything. And then after the VF Commodore, they sort of went back to their old ways, and then it became a German car and no one bought it, and it's really sad. But this here was just, it's the pinnacle of Holden and what they stood for. Now, also new with the VF Series 2, specifically just the SS, is keyless entry and push button start. Now, on the Series 1, that wasn't available on the standard SS. You had to go to SSV or Redline, but with the Series 2, they just included it as standard, and I'm really thankful for it. It's just so much more convenient. You don't have to pull your key out. You just push a button, open the door, and get going. When you put your foot down, this car just comes alive. Really surprised and really happy. This car has two personalities. When you really want to just cruise comfortably around town, you know, or on the highway, it's really easy to drive. It's really nice. You barely have to lift your revs above 2000 RPM, and it just does the job perfectly. It's nice and comfortable. The suspension isn't too harsh or anything. But then when you really want to race, when you really want to do some spirited driving, man, this car comes alive. All 6.2 liters and 304 kilowatts, they become apparent straight away. This car has a official rating 0 to 100 in 4.9 seconds. I'm not 100% sure what it actually gets. I haven't tested my car yet. We may have to do that in the future, so keep an eye out for that. But I'll tell you what, it would get very close to that. Now, the previous owner has put a set of wider rear tires on this car, and I am very thankful for that, because this car here, when you just floor it, it does not budge. Like, there is no wheel spin whatsoever. It just pushes forward, and I love that so much. The way this car handles is just phenomenal. It's only just a standard SS, so it doesn't have the upgraded VFII sport suspension that the Redline has, so it's not going to handle on the track as well as a Redline will, of course. But really, when you want to turn it, it turns. There's very little body roll. It handles on its own fantastically. I have no complaints about it. The brakes could be a bit better, however, just driving around normally, it's still phenomenal, still fantastic. If you were going to take this car on the track, I can't stress enough, you would want an SSV Redline. They come with Brembos, they come with the VFII track suspension. It's so much better suited. So new for the VF generation of Commodores was an electronic steering rack. At low speeds, this car is a lot easier to maneuver and a lot easier to find to park and all that sort of things, because the steering is so light and easy. But it's got sort of a progressive system. So when you're driving at higher speeds, maybe on the highway or on the track or something like that, it actually stiffens up the steering response a bit, which actually helps with high speed stability a lot, and it also helps give a much sportier feel to things. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember if the Calais does it or not. I don't think it does, because it's a luxury model. I think only the SS and so on have the progressive steering. Don't quote me on that though, I'm not 100% sure. If anyone does know, just leave a comment down below. Also, with the VF Series 2 generation of V8s, because it's the LS3 engine now, it misses out on the cylinder deactivation that the Series 1s had. Now, don't know if a lot of people would really be that upset with it, because you're buying a V8, you can't expect the best fuel economy in the first place. That's not the reason why you buy one. But now that means if you're cruising on the highway or whatever, you've always got full 8 cylinders instead of the cylinder shutdown that cuts it down to 4 cylinders. I personally don't really care about that feature. I'm glad it's not in it. For me, it's fine. I bought a V8 to have a V8, not a 4-cylinder. So I believe, however, it still retains the flex fuel capability with E85. Again, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't used any E85 yet, so if anyone knows that it does, then please let me know down below. There's not really many petrol stations around me that offer E85, so I haven't had a chance, or haven't really been bothered to go and find anything. But what that'll do is just give you a bit of extra power, but lower fuel economy. So that's the trade-off there. All in all, I'm very impressed with this car. It's very comfortable to drive daily, and it's very beastly when you need it to be. It will hold its own on the track. However, obviously, if you're going to do it more frequently, or if you want the best times and all that sort of thing, I'd go with the SSV Redline, just for the better suspension and brake system and the staggered wheels. So now let's talk about the current mods on the car. This car currently has a Catback aftermarket Catback fitted onto it, and you can really tell when someone's purchased a cheaper exhaust, right? When you're cruising at low RPMs on a highway, say I'm doing 110 kilometers an hour at 2000 revs, which is generally what it goes at, you get a fair bit of drone sometimes, and you have to be very finicky with the throttle to try and offset the drone, to try and get rid of it. And that's the problem with a lot of cheaper exhausts. Yeah, it might sound a bit louder, but you're just getting that in your ear sort of drone all the time, and that's one downside to getting it. And it's also a 2.5-inch exhaust, so you're not really getting that great power out of it either. So one future mod that I might actually be doing to the car is getting a full stainless steel exhaust, high quality, to try and get rid of that drone firstly, but also increase the power by a decent amount, because like I said before, these cars are very tunable. It's very easy to get power out of them with just a few small tweaks. That coupled with a over the radiator cold air intake, I believe this car would be perfect. It breathes really well as it is now, but you can never have enough help, especially from a big fire-breathing V8 like this. So this car actually retains the stock suspension, you know, the shocks and everything, but it's just been lowered on king springs, which keeps the ride comfortable without being harsh or anything like that. But it's mainly just for looks. It's not going to improve handling performance dramatically by that much. It'll lower center of gravity just a tiny bit. But so now, for all of the other standard features that come on this car, it's worth a look at my Calais videos. So it's obviously not going to be as highly spec'd as the Calais, but check that video out first, and now I'll just go through all of the things that it misses out on from the Calais. So now the stock SS misses out on full leather interior, it misses out on the flat bottom steering wheel, lane departure warning and forward collision alert. It also misses out on heated seats, which is a Calais only option, or Caprice. However, it does still get the side blind zone alert, which is a very handy feature on such a big car. It also gets the rear traffic alert when you're trying to reverse out of a driveway or something. It'll notify you that a car's coming. It gets, as I mentioned before, with the Series 2 update, it gets keyless entry and push button start as standard. So that's on all of the sports models, even the SV6, which is a handy feature. I really love not having to take my keys out of my pocket at all. The only thing I wish my car had, which no Commodore has ever had, I think, except for the wagons, it's missing a button on the boot or on the rear of the car at all to open the boot, and so you pretty much have to pull out your key every time to open the boot, and that's quite a bit annoying when you have a car with keyless entry, and then you still have to pull out your key to get into the boot. So another feature that the normal SS misses out on over the Calais or the SSV and Redline is a head-up display. So you can't actually see your speedometer on the windshield. Not a massive deal to me. It doesn't really affect me, but that's another thing. Also, the center display here that reads out your speedo is in black and white. It's monochrome rather than color, which the SSV onwards have. Again, not the biggest deal in the world, but that's where you're missing out on. That's where your higher price point of the SSV and Redline come in show. There's also this center console here is like a rubbery, plasticky type material other than leather, which you get on the higher models. So also worth mentioning, in the normal SS and even in the SV6, where you miss out on a lot of the suede. Instead, I'm not sure how well it's coming up on camera, you get like a faux carbon fiber vinyl Still a very nice material. It still helps lift up the whole interior of the car, but you get a lot of that rather than your suede. Also gloss black accents rather than your silver trim, which to me personally, I like the black. I think it looks great. It just might scratch pretty easily, that's the only thing. Also, these are the seats here. You get your microfiber suede in the middle and then leather on the bolsters, whereas it's pretty much full leather on the higher up models with suede down the middle. Again, check out my Calais video for more. The SS is very similar. The SSV Redline is very similar in that regard. New from 2015 models onwards, this includes the Series 1 and the Series 2, you now get a new gloss black rear diffuser. On the Series 1s it was like a unpainted matte black. This here just looks a lot more classy and a lot more elegant. It was only available on the Calais in the Series 1, but now it's across the board. That's 2015 Series 1 and all of Series 2s. So like with all Commodores in the past, the VF is no exception. It has massive boot space, so you can fit basically anything you'll need to. There's a little ski hatch there to open for longer items. I've got a cargo net. This doesn't come standard on the SS. It does on the Calais. You can just purchase it. Makes life a lot easier. There is a full-size spare wheel down there. It's the 18-inch that came with the car. As you can see, the previous owner has upgraded to these 20-inch wheels, which are 275 in the rear, 245 in the front, which give excellent traction. So the standard SS retained the same red tail lights. However, with the SSV Redline and the Calais V, it introduced the clear lens with the red brake lights. Also new with all SS models is this black hood vent, which is actually functional. 3 of the vents are open to allow heat to exhaust through and out of the engine bay. Also new for the VF2 is this newer, more aggressive looking front fascia, which is actually a functional duct that goes through to the brakes to actually help cool them. Also giving it a much wider stance. Okay, so that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.